Redditors who have met a former crush years later, how did it turn out? Found out she was fat and unattractive. Then I realized I was too. One of the most realistic replies. Hey baby, let's do it. It's not like we are gonna get any thinner. Ran into her some years later in our mid-20s at a New Year's party. We both were just recently single and started to click. Eventually we both confessed to a mutual crush in high school. Then as the night went on and beer flowed, she jerked off 2 random guys in the living room. Did she use your hand? Nah, he held her hair like a true gentleman. Hadn't seen her in 15 years. Ran into each other online. Decided to meet up for dinner. Married now for 5 years and 1 kid. I liked her when we were 15, but she wasn't nice to me. I ran into her when we were 23, and she looked so old I didn't recognize her. When she realized I didn't recognize her, she began to cry and ran to the bathroom. Never saw her again. You should check if she's okay in the bathroom. People slip in there sometimes. She'll come out eventually. Or maybe she did, and I didn't recognize her again. I'm an asshole. But went to an underground rave, and then my wife and I tag teamed her. She comes to our holiday gatherings now. Well, that turned out very nicely for you. A little too nicely. He always said, I want to be a cop. I'll never be a duck in firefighter. Firefighters are pussies. Cops are the real men. He became an army firefighter, but instead of being humbled he's still a total douche. Firefighters are fucking homos. Had a crush on her all through freshman and sophomore year. She kissed me at the end of sophomore year. I failed to reciprocate. Basically ran away from her. Extreme social anxiety. I switched schools after disappearing for the summer. Not because of the kiss, but when school started again I walked to her school every day for half of the year in hopes of having the balls to make a move. Saw her each day. Failed each day. She obviously got tired of waiting. Ended up with another guy. I gave up. Come end of senior year she shows up at my school to see some guy. Saw me, literally jumped into my arms, and forced her phone number on me. Together 7 years come November. I proposed to her around a week ago. Ran into my high school crush because we were both on the same plane and seated across the aisle from each other. She's a lesbian now. Did you try to turn her in some crazy scene full desk scenario? When I was in first year I had the stupidest little girl crush on this guy in my program. And I had no idea how to express it, so I think I thoroughly creeped him out with my staring and pathetic attempts to get him to have coffee with me and such. Anyway, that was 8 years ago, and I've really matured as a person since then. I hadn't even thought of him in years when I ran into him. I was actually excited to find out he worked at a store I was planning to go to. I thought I can finally have a normal conversation with crush. He'll see I'm not a creepy weirdo anymore. Anyway, when I ran into him our conversation went like this. Me, hey, crush, how's it going? Him, good thanks, how are you? Me, good thanks, how are you? And then it just spiraled into awkwardness from there. Guess some people just bring it out of me. Had drinks. Went back to her hotel. Basically did not leave it for 2 days. Netflix marathon. They were just chilling. Went out for drinks. Still fixated on her, was given a chance, got wasted and embarrassed myself by spending so much of the night talking about how much my younger self liked her. Extolling her virtues like it was years ago. Mentioned how crazy and awesome it was that I was finally getting my chance. It was sad as shit. I didn't realize how bad I ducked up until I sobered up, woke up and immediately knew I would not be given a second opportunity. Saw her reactions and responses from the previous night with a sober eye. Realized the massive amount of I'm going to be polite, but I've made a mistake that was continuously written across her face. Embarrassing as shit. It seems that the girls I was chasing in high school, if I see them now it's like I don't see what the big deal was. And then the girls I wasn't chasing, but in retrospect should have been, are all insanely gorgeous, funny, smart. If I had a time machine I'd go back and punch 15-year-old me right in the beanbag. Idiot. I hear ya. I was too cool for band, so I tried to do sports. I sucked. Meanwhile all the band girls were being finger blasted on the bus rides home, while I was awkwardly missing layups on the basketball court. Dude, not all band kids got laid. You didn't necessarily miss anything. Source, Take a wild guess. Let's see. Met her when I was 13. We totally crushed. Fast forward to when we are both 23. She has a kid from a previous marriage, but it didn't bother me. Got married, she cheated, tried to take me for child support for her daughter. 2 out of 10 would not recommend. She didn't get child support, did she? She did try. She failed. There were a lot of factors outside of court that helped her decide it would be easier to move on and not try to ruin my life more than she had. Her last name is very close to mine, so throughout high school our lockers were together, or we'd have seats in class next to each other. She was a cheerleader, incredibly hot and also a cool person. We were friends but nothing close. I ran into her 4 years later. She dropped out of college and is waiting tables now. But she got even hotter. Still a really nice girl though. Turns out she's a crystal healing, vaccination hating wingnut. Meh, I dodged a bullet. We started a small thing when we were around 17 years old. Didn't work out cause she was spoiled and I was pretty heartless asshole. Fast forward a few relationships for us both, 11 years of growth, and she came back into my life a few months ago. We are dating and life is pretty good now, couldn't ask for anything more. Sometimes it's the right person, but the wrong time. My wife's former crush randomly messaged her on Facebook one day. She ducked him on day 2. She's now my ex-wife. She's jobless living with his mom, and I have the kids. Had a crush on this girl in grade school. First, second. Playdates, video games, action figures. Life was good. Bought her a present at a 5 and 10 because I thought she'd like it. It was a ring. She was ultra embarrassed and ran off. My parents still have not let me forget that. She changed schools for other reasons that next year. Fast forward 14 years. Graduated from undergrad, working for a company in my hometown, and working on getting accepted to medical school. About 4 drinks one night with friends, and who should come by but her? Beautiful, great taste in music, smiles at my jokes. Smitten. Fast forward several more years. Gave her a ring again. She did not run away. Happily married several years. She works at a supermarket near me. I said hi one time and have since avoided using it because I'm not the best with repeated social interaction. I feel you. I'm planning to move cause I got drunk and talked to my neighbors and now they say hi when they see me. She was in my class back in kindergarten, in my class again in 3rd grade. Showed her my boxers and she was now my girlfriend. Then I discovered she cheated on me with my best friend. I saw him showing her his underwear. Needless to say, I've moved on from that event in my life. But if you are out there, Olivia or Matt, duck you. We had awesome sex and never talked to each other again. It ruled. That doesn't rule. Awesome sex is a great reason to talk to each other again. I wasn't interested in dating him. I just wanted to know what it would be like. Got Thai food, hung out, caught up. Pretty chill. Would still duck her brains out, but I don't think she's into it. I'm sure most of us would prefer to keep our brains unducked. Good sir. We're married now. Had mega crush in high school. Finally contacted him 6 years later, since I knew him back then, and we haven't been apart since. Now we have been together for 4 years, married for 1, and have a baby on the way. Dreams really do come true, I don't care how cheesy that sounds. We talked every day in high school for 3 years. 20 years later she didn't remember me. I was in love with him for most of my lower teenage years. He was my best friend, but I broke it off when I found out he'd been talking shit behind my back. I never thought he meant what he said about me, but I do know he was desperate to be liked by people and didn't mind shutting on me to seem cooler to them. Of course the people he talked to told me about it. I sent him a handwritten letter explaining what I'd heard and also that I was still in love with him and couldn't be just friends. We met up when I was 19, about 3 years since we'd last seen each other. He was as charming as he'd always been, and I realized how quickly we fell back into our previous roles. Him being cool but kind of an asshole, and me hanging off his every word. I'm happy we met up because it gave me some closure to realize I didn't feel the same as I did about him and that he was even more of an asshole. I still think about him sometimes, but much more soberly than I did when we still hung out. Good. We had tacos, then did oral stuff in my car behind Taco Bell, and haven't spoken since. Interesting marketing strategy from Taco Bell. Saw her at the 10-year high school reunion. She was a bit heavier than she'd been in high school, but still attractive. She was there with her Ivy League fiancé. These two facts combined to change my mindset from I wanna bang my high school crush at our reunion to oh well, never mind. At one point, we were being recognized for something, and with all eyes on us, she leaned over and said, "I remember what a crush you had on me. You wanted me bad." First, I couldn't really react, given the immediate circumstances. Second, I didn't detect any kind of Taco Bell type invitation in what she'd said. Sorry. In fact, it almost seemed like she was just lording it over me. I mean, she was there with her fiancé, who we'd determined in previous small talk she loved and who was awesome. For some reason, it really pissed me off. I just gave her a blank look, shrugged, and walked away. To this day, I wish I'd had some kind of witty comeback, but that's about my only regret. Haven't seen her since, but I hope she's happy, and blah, blah, blah. Well, she got hotter, and I leveled off. Still wouldn't suck my willy, and I was even at Taco Bell.